Hello, welcome back for more Haskell. Today I'm going to pick up looking at using Haskell with a database, Postgres in particular. Started this last week. I got to the point where I could use Postgres simple to connect to database and read some data out of it. I think you can add data into it as well. But it was very, I guess, imperative. It was kind of open a do block and then write the kind of statements you would normally write in a normal imperative programming language. Wasn't anything particularly functional or nice about it. It worked, that was nice, I guess, but there was nothing that made use of Haskell, I think. Perhaps that's the way to say it. So plan for today is to pick up again with Postgres simple. This time have a look at the from row so that I can see if I can load data out of the database and return it as an object rather than, I guess, a record, but return it as something structured rather than just saying here is a tuple of values or a list of values, I think it is. And then if that goes well, I might switch and look at persistent, which is a different way of thinking about the connection to the database, I guess. It's an ORM, kinda, I guess, but it uses a lot of template Haskell to generate a lot of boilerplate code so that you can have your SQL and your types kind of in sync, I think is the idea behind it. So I might look at that if I get time, but I'm going to start with the Postgres simple and just try and use it a bit better. Before kickoff, there's another Haskell book just been announced, I think, in the last few days. It seems like every week there's a new Haskell book, which is great. I haven't got this one yet, but I'll buy it soon and enjoy it. I watched a talk by Rebecca at Haskell Love Conference, which had some crazy fun type shit in it. So I'm hoping for the same from this book. I had a quick skim through the table of contents and it looks like there's some interesting building things with Haskell. And there's going to be building things with Haskell and advanced types in here. So it should be quite fun. So yeah, Effective Haskell is my latest, will soon be my latest Haskell book purchase. Okay, back to the databases. So this is what we built last time. Simple application. You can say find an environment by name, or you can add a new environment. And then these are just really simple bits of Postgres simple. So it's just to add something, you're just calling execute. This connection, I think, specifies just copy and paste it between the two functions. And then you just give it raw SQL. And it returns a name, and I don't know what type of name is. Well, because I've passed it in. Sorry, I know it's a string here. When you get it out again, maybe that's more interesting. It returns star. So what's in this table? I think it was a list of IDs and names. What's just down here? It is, yeah. And I had to. You get this back as a list of tuples, and then I had to extract this and sort of cast it to the correct types. So rather than doing that, I think it'd be more interesting to create a record, which represents the contents of these rows, and then tell Postgres simple how to convert the data it gets back, so this list of tuples, into the record, and presumably vice versa. Before I do that, let's just make sure it works. Let's do a stack run. Oh, there's no list, is there? Let's add a list, because I don't know what data we've got behind. I could just go and look in the database, but where's the fun in that? Okay, so list. It's going to be in its own. It's not going to take any extra arguments. And we'll just call this list ems. And I guess just print them. Oops. Not quite sure what that'll come back as. Okay, so list ems. It's not going to take any argument, and it's just going to return I guess we're going to just have a list of names. Maybe we'll do a list of ID and name pairs. So it's going to be a list of tuples. I don't need these out of brackets, so therefore a list of tuples containing an int, and I think it's a string. It's going to be very similar to this. So I'm just going to copy it for now, actually, obviously, because that's the best way of doing things. So list ems, do, and then that. Okay, so we connect to the database again. I'll refactor this in a second. We won't limit one, and we won't have the where clause. Oh, what was the thing that you type for an empty tuple? You can give it an empty list, I think. But there's a way of saying, because you can't, I remember from last week, I can't remember what the fix was, so I could just give an empty list, I suppose. This third argument needs to be something. It can't be an empty tuple, so we need to give an empty list. It should be fine. It's not gonna. There's no placeholders in here anyway, so it should be fine. Oh, there was an extra call to query, wasn't there? Which is like, was it that? Yes. Okay, so that's query without any variables to interpolate. Okay, so we get this back, and then we should just be able to say. Okay, we got results. We don't want to extract a single result, but we want to extract this stuff. Right, so I think that's what I want to do. So we just we'll just map extract over that. No, there, yeah. Okay, so for every tuple in this list of results, we'll do this to it, where we try to pull out the ID as an integer and unpack the name. Okay, so let's see how that works. Can we say stack run list? Yes, it's not very pretty, but it does at least work. So we can see we've got these things in the database. Okay, did I add a unique constraint last time? So if I say stack run add staging, it already exists. Yes, cool, okay. So this is it handling the exception that comes back. Right, kind of cool, but let's, instead of just treating these as tuples, let's try and write some kind of record to represent that data, and then extract into that using from row, the type class. So create my data first. Yeah, so data env, I guess we'll do. We'll use the m constructor, and it will consist of ID, which is an int, and oops, name, which what's that key on? Which is a string. Okay. Deriving show, I guess. Deriving snow. Deriving show. Okay, so now I think we need to create an instance for from row. But I can't remember what that is, so I've opened a web page somewhere. I'm gonna have a look. So the instance is called from row, and it needs to have this function from row, and they're just using applicative to create these fields. And we basically it's going to do the same thing. In fact, apart from the name here, it's almost identical. Apart from the name, it is identical. Okay. So it's not user, but it's env. And this is env as well. And this thing is not imported. Okay. It's not something the same thing. Yes. Okay. So now in theory we have a record called env with two fields inside it, and a way of converting the tuples we get back, like results we get back from Postgres, into this record. So I think here, instead of returning maybe IO string, I can say maybe maybe env. So we're not going to do this extract thing anymore. I don't think we can do that because the result has not been converted. I don't think it's IO, maybe env. Although I think we do want that. So to get this result back, I mean, we could just call from row on it, I guess. Let me look at the example on the internet because that might help a bit. I can also derive it. An example of using it? No. Let me so let me I don't want to type from row at this point. I don't think. Like I think it should be able to work it out. If I just grab the example for Postgres called simple. The very simple example they had here. Where was it? Its values. Extraction results. This class all extraction type conversion rows from good result. So now it comes to ask for match the tuple, that's okay. I thought there was some funky way of doing of getting it to just do the extraction itself, the conversion itself. Oh, can we say only something as a result of that? We might get an error if there isn't the result. But was it something like this? So what's the type of res at this point? Match list of A0 with env. So this is a list of any. Okay, it's not super useful. There's something here about from row. So you can derive it, but how do you use it? Return a list of values in the from row type class. So select name and age from users, and an X is it's a list of tuples, but just not here for a second. So instead of returning maybe m, I would just return a list of m's. In fact, let me just undefine this for a second. That's not going to help either. Oh, what do we do at this point? I want it to not do anything. I can't work out what it needs to return. So we just return env. Second, we'll go to this case. Can we just return the result? We cannot. Okay. If you get rid of that type error, that'd be quite nice. The warning, sorry. Right, let me go back to example. It seemed like it'd be really easy, and then it's not been really easy. Okay, this was the query I guess I was trying to copy. So only I is that, and then return I. Okay, so here we could say we could match as only result. So we don't expect one to come back. And then we should just be able to say pure result. Okay, so no instance from field. What type have you got though? No instance for a from field, arise use of query in do block. Select start from runs with that. Yeah, but I don't know what type it thinks it's missing from field on. Oh, from field, sorry. I haven't put it from row. So how does from field and from row work? It's probably a text unpack, I think. So I can't call value of the string thing. I think I need to do the text unpack. So something like text dot unpack field. Okay, that worked well. Okay, so what happens to from row? I'm going to tell me. What field does actually, because that seems to be the issue here. So field, in terms of row parser, I don't know what that is. A, where A implements from field. And I don't know what field with is. There's not much description here. Oh, good. Field with field P. Let's lift field P field. No, I have no idea what this is doing. Take it this is also complicated. Field with from field. Okay, so from field is how you're getting the value out. So I could say field with this, perhaps. Field with that, and then import that. No, okay, so it needs to go okay, it's not a list of characters, it may be byte string. Oh, this is annoying now. So it's an example of from row parsing it's not an integer. Yeah, they've got name string here. Okay, so it was nothing to do with that, I don't think. Okay. So let me undo that change. Call field twice. So we're back to this. No instance of that. So let me put it into result and then return pure result. Why not do that query? Is that any better? I think it's suggesting there's no point in assigning res and then returning it. So now couldn't match array of R0 with env. So can we make this an array of env? Yes, we can. Okay, this would work as our implementation of find all, or list, I think it was. So here we should just be able to do this and say it's going to be a list of environments. And then get rid of all this, delete it. And then we get that. So if I list again, okay, that is now definitely using our new from row. So that's kind of cool. But if I get passing a name, find name, so find woo, it gives me back a list, and that's not what I want. I want nothing, or I want nothing, or I want the result. Okay, so I'm going to change this to be IO of just env. Maybe I'll put space in there as well. Just env, maybe env. Okay, so we do our connection. This is not a maybe env type now, it's a list of R0. So our result oops. Our result comes from there. And the result now is a list of some things. So kiss res of. Then we have an empty list. That should be nothing, pure nothing. Okay. In fact, we could just do it around. We could say if we have exactly one thing, it's not pure nothing, it's pure just E. Anything else is pure nothing. Don't know why that was so much harder to write last time. Okay, so we get a list of results back. Look at it, if we get a single element in that list, then we return that element. If we get anything else back from an empty list or multiple things on the list, then we're just going to return nothing. Let's see how that works. So it should be the same result, but not in a list. Yep. I guess. And add some more O's on so it doesn't find it, and you get nothing back. Okay, so you could get rid of the just when printing it out, but that's fine. So that's from row. Now the to row, I'm guessing is going to be similar. I'm guessing there is an instance of to row. Let's find out. Env where to row is undefined. To is not a visible class of to row. What is? Actually, let's look at that. So we got from row and the to row. So collection type. They can be turned into a list of rendering actions. It's used a two-field method of the two-field class for converting each element in the collection. There's no example of this apart from the deriving. I mean, I guess we could just derive them. I don't know how it works. Prepare a value associated in the query string, but which value? Like, I'd like to see what the derived to row looks like. The field is I guess like we want to implement the equivalent of this. We've got two fields, so we'll want the first and second field to be turned into a row. I might just derive them, see how it works. So we're going to derive generic and two row. And it should fill it in for me. No. Have I got help with a line? I do not. So I wrote a snippet for this. Okay. And then hash, and hash, and that. So language, is it derived generics? Deriving? Perhaps I meant derived generic? No. Oh, I've missed an E. Derived generic. And then also I want derive generic, I want derive any class, I think it was. Okay, and we're just going to pull in generic. Okay, so in theory, oh, we're only starting the name anyway, that's really annoying. Oh, damn it. Because what I want to do is change this to take an env object, an env record, and do that. Maybe we could do some kind of set env. Let's try that, which is going to take an env and it's going to run under IO. So set env with our environment is, we need to sort this out at some point. I should stop copying and pasting the connection. But we'll get a connection. And we'll do that. And then nothing not gonna work. no instance to failed env. How does this work? So it's ID and name, and then those two values. It's not a list, or it is listing. No, itself is a collection. Right, got you. I think. So you implement two rows and some kind of collection style class. In our case, it's a collection of fields. Okay, let's see if that works. Okay, so we will then add a set, and it's going to take an ID and a name, and it's going to be set m. Okay, so this is going to be m. It's going to be this style, so ID equals show ID and name equals name. It should be not called ID because it clashes. Is it env ID? No, I called ID. How do I unclash that? Main.id. Oops, oh, that's wrong. Prelude.id. It's not show, it's read. It's not that ID either, it's just a variable ID. Okay, not great code, but it should do the basic job of creating environment from the ID and the name, and then calling setenv on it, which I haven't told it how to get these fields out. It should have worked out for itself. Okay, so let's list so I can find what the IDs are, so I can find something safe. And we got a hole, yeah, we got a hole between 4 and 6 inclusive. So in theory I can say set for I don't know, manually inserted. So we list it again. Cool, that seemed to work. And then she will say find manual. There you go. Okay. So I'm not sure about this to row thing. I think I just need to implement lots of variations of the field, and that's what this deriving is doing for me, I think. Don't know. And given we're deriving anyway, I think I can do that. And I think this should just work and do the same thing I was doing before. Just it. Yeah, it's doing it for me. And then we can run list. Oops. And there we go. Cool. So deriving works. One last thing, unrelated to databases, but this syntax that we had before for creating environment was something like this. I just curious it works in general. So it couldn't match its way to type. env, that's like list of env. Oh, interesting. Okay. I'll look at it some other time. Okay. That's our basic write the SQL by hand and maybe be able to pass in type, but I guess this is easy to get wrong. So I could say something like this, which presumably will compile, but then panic when I run it. So that's when the compiler first. Yep, worked fine. And then we say stack run list, and then we can set 5 to panic. So you get this coming back. So a single question mark, but 2 parameters. Okay, this is what I'm wondering persistent will solve for me. So there's this idea of persistent where you define your definition of, if I use a short example here, you define your records here, so rather than define them as normal records, you define them like this, and it will then let you do things like run the migrations to create these tables. Well, once we change them, but anyway, and then you can insert this stuff, and then I think it will not compile if you get a mismatch between the columns in here and the stuff you're trying to do. So it's much more of an ORM-like thing. So let's get that guy. I'm actually just going to grab all of this stuff, I think. Or do I want this example? The example is best. I might grab from this example. It's kind of cute as well. They've got a SQLite driver for this, I guess, and then memory SQLite stuff, so you can test stuff without having to spin up a database. But I have a database, so let's keep using it. What I want to do here, I want to do it in the same project. Let me just commit what we got so far. Yeah, add anything? Nope, it will not add them for me. The one thing I didn't want to add was stack work. That was a mistake. Okay, unsave everything. Yes. Okay, let's try staging just the ones we want. This as well. Okay. So this was a basic example with PostgreSQL simple. Okay. So now if I can find the cabal file, this actually might take the next 50 minutes just to compile, but I think I can just say persistent. Let's give that a go. Doing something, so I guess it's getting it for me. So while it does that, let's go back to main, and I'm actually going to, can I copy the file? copy file. No, I cannot. Okay. Can I save as? Yes. So this is main simple. Oh, I messed up my installer. Quick look. So we got main and main simple. Okay. And what I should be able to do is grab everything and delete it. Come back to here and then copy this. But I'm going to try and change it to use Postgres and then use the environment stuff we were looking at before. Well, I might need to delete the tail I have because it might get upset about the fact I already created it. I guess we could find out. Cancel that. Okay, so close main simple, go back to main. Oh, there we go, I think. Everything's a little bit upset at the minute. I think trying to run the streaming video alongside building a lot of Haskell packages is more than my little CPU can take. So no graphics card in it. It's just the Intel Iris chip. So none of the video encoding is being offloaded. So I think just everything is too much for it. Let's also try and stop the language server. Oops. Stop LSP. It's also using more memory, or more CPU, sorry. Memory's probably fine. Use conduit internally. Is an accepted term for ORM when there's no O. I'm pretty sure I've seen persistent referred to as no RM. But how did it describe it here? Can't see a description here. Not that I can see. In this description, anything about ORMs? Nope. It's all about type safe queries, apparently. Yeah, I don't know what the correct term for ORM is. RRM? Because in our case, it's going to be a record relational mapper. I'm not sure. I guess that's one of the hard problems of computer science. So what to call the ORM layer when you don't have objects. With hindsight, I should have compiled this in advance. Anyway. Maybe a data relational mapper, DRM. That's already been used, I guess. How are we doing? Still compiling persistent. Okay. I might take a quick look at what I've pasted in while that's running. So an awful lot of language extensions. This type Haskell stuff, template Haskell, sorry, it's kind of amazing. So it looks like you're declaring a record, but it's slightly fancy syntax. And I think from that, it turns it into the codes to define the record plus various helper functions. And I guess those functions are to do with creating and fetching, creating tuples to put in a database, or creating statements to put in a database. And the same for loading stuff out. This insert looks a lot nicer than the sort of handcrafted stuff I was doing before, but like any ORM or whatever RM, I'm sure it gets annoying after a while. What's this doing? Select list limit to 1. I wonder if it's like a select 1 then. I don't know. Maybe that get is what it is doing. Okay, how are we getting on? Oh, we finished. I'm hoping this is my code that's broken. So we can't import persistent SQLite, presumably because I haven't put it in the compile file. Is that right? It's not going to tell me here, is it? No. Google, not Google. Package. Let's have persistent. What package have we got? We've got persistent SQLite is a separate one. Persistent Postgres is separate as well. Okay, so more compiling, I guess. So it was persistent SQLite. See if that will compile. Only 4 things this time, so it might be good. Clear my micro lens. What do all these libraries do? I'm guessing micro lens is a lens library, but maybe it's easier to use or simpler than normal lenses. Who knows? Have you got any suggestions for what I should call ORMs so they don't have an O? You'd run a competition. About 10 minutes ago, I jokingly said I might spend the next 15 minutes compiling, but it looks like that's going to be true. This is rather awkward. This run migration migrate all, the name migrate all seems to correspond to this migrate all. So I wonder if you could have multiple migrations, because it could be like migrate person, then you could have another one which is separately migrate blog. I don't know though, I don't know if everything has to go in this block, or if you could split it up into multiple things. but it suggests that you can give it a name, which would suggest that you could have multiple migrations doing different things. Okay, what's broken now? Flexible instances. I thought I had flexible instances. I do not. Okay, if I try and restart the language server, let's see if that has got enough CPU to start up this time. Oh, the HLS does not support template Haskell. Awkward. Okay. So this is just going to be very error-y. Okay, let me just go back to the error it had here. So it wants all of these, I believe. Try it again. Looks better. Okay, it's compiled. So I run main. It should do this thing where it creates these tables in memory. It inserts a new person or two new people. Then it inserts two blog posts. This blog post just, yeah, okay, title and author ID. So there's no actual constraint on this data. That should pull back the entry for John. Where is it? Select list. It's saying blog post author ID. So I'm guessing it's built it up from here, blog post author ID. So I'm guessing it's going to return the title of the blog post, well, the blog post itself, but that's really just, oh, it says here, yeah, it's an entity, and the entity is a blog post. Okay. So I run it, assuming it's going to print out the title for my first post. Then it's going to print out information about John Doe, 35. And then it's going to delete Jane. Okay, now not exactly what I'm expecting. Okay, so first of all is running the migrations, which is cool, I guess. So it's all inserted in primary key. This null is because of the maybe, I'm guessing. Up here, where we got age is in maybe, okay. And then these are not null. Oh, wow, authority integer not null references person. Okay, I hate these things, but it's very clever. So it's worked out that person ID would link to a table called person, I guess, and then decided to put the reference in. I don't know what on delete restrict does. Maybe it doesn't let you do it. I'm not sure. Okay, and then when you do the select here, you get this horror back. So it's telling you what the key is, and it's blog post key. Did it create blog post key? No. Unblog post key is equal backend there. That's really not very helpful. So this is a list of posts. Okay, this select list is a bit confusing, I guess. It seems like a really weird thing to put at the start of each tutorial. Because you get this coming out, and when I'm looking at this, I'm like, what? This is much friendlier, I think. Okay. So in memory, could we kind of quickly do the environment stuff? So environment. This is amazing. So instead of saying name string, the name string we do have, and we could maybe do booking. And I can't remember what fields were there. We had some kind of start time. But let's just put duration as a string for a second. And then it's not author ID, but environment ID. And is environment ID. Okay, so we'll run our migrations. We will create two environments. So we'll create test and prod. We want a person. It's interesting. These are generating errors, but these are not. Okay, this is going to be an environment. And it's going to be this one's test. And this one is, again, environment. And it's going to be production. Okay, I'm going to just select list. And it's not maybe person, it's maybe, let's say, booking. Okay, that's kind of good because I want these other errors to come up. Okay, cool. So I think this is a stronger experience because you are getting errors because, well, I guess types don't match up because it said blog post here. So let's do booking. And duration, I just put to like 1 day, and it's not John ID, it's going to be, let's say, test ID. And this is booking 10 minutes on prod. Okay. And then we can say something like, we're not going to, oh, I want my select list back, I think. Well, let's just get test ID back first. B. Good, so we can't match environment with type booking, so this may be an environment. And we won't delete anything. Okay, so I think what's kind of nice about this is that I couldn't, for example, do this. You know, the booking, it says, has got 2 fields, but that's defined up here, and this is what's being used to generate the SQL or generate the schema. So in theory, the type system should be keeping you in sync with the structure of the database. I got to run it, see if it works. Cool. So I created my new environment table, created my booking table, including the reference, and then we could look up the test environment. I could probably get to look up the booking for that test environment and so on. Looks kind of good. I'm not going to install the Postgres driver now because it'll probably take it another 20 minutes. But maybe when I come next week, I can take a look at this a little bit more and see if I can take my booking app and change it from just storing stuff in memory to looking stuff up in the database, hopefully in some kind of type safe way. Be interesting to see if I can define records like this and also export them. But I'll take a look at it next week, I guess. But yeah, it looks like generating stuff in Haskell to talk to the database is not too difficult when it works. I imagine it gets harder when it goes wrong, but in general, it seems to be pretty good. Cool. All right. Thank you for watching along, and I shall see you next week.